where do we go from here? What is the doorway, the front of the 21st century? Where does the Monroe Institute go from here? We believe that we're a cog in a wheel. And that's remember I grew up in the industrial age, so I have references to the mechanical. If I grew up in the computer age, I might say, we are an operating system on the motherboard or something like that. But we think we are participating in the evolution of human consciousness. I used to give a talk, and I can't quite remember all the parameters of it, but generally speaking, if you think back to the planet and the evolution of life on the planet, it took a couple of billion years for life to emerge from the primordial nothingness. And then scientists that look back over huge, long scales of time talk about decimal pointing things, meaning in 10-year increments. So it took about 1 million years for life to emerge from unicellular to multicellular. And then it took about 500,000 years to go from that to vertebrates, things that had skeletons. And then going from that to Homo erectus, the idea of emerging from the seas and back into the seas to some sort of something that resembled a body, we're looking at 50,000 years. Another decimal point off of that, 5,000 years. We think of the formations of societies among this. Some of this Homo erectus survived, and the first thing that we might call as humanoids and the formation of societies 5,000 years ago. 500 years ago was the Industrial Revolution. 50 years ago, we're talking 1980, the Informational Revolution. We're running out of decimal points. What is humankind evolving into? And we think it is consciousness. And what does that mean? It means that mankind, humankind, sees itself differently. What are we talking about? We're talking about maybe, if it's 50 years and we go from 1980 to 2030 maybe, will humankind perceive of themselves as being different than we do now? I mean, we can look back in history and these things I talked about in terms of evolution over billions, then millions, then hundreds of thousands, and then hundreds, and then decades. They're all there. Those are facts. That happened. And when we stand here and look the other direction in this thing called time that doesn't exist, what's next? A philosophic question, if we can go to Rupert Sheldrake and formative causation. The classic story that's told in formative causation is of the 100th monkey, that they have teaching monkeys to wash food, and then they teach their children and they teach their associative colonies of monkeys, and there is some point at time, a threshold, suddenly, all over the world, all monkeys wash their food. Now, if we could ask a question, if we could put a microphone under the monkey's mouth and say, do you remember when you didn't wash your food? It'd be interesting to know what the answer to that question is. When we evolve as humankind to become aware of ourselves differently, will we say, oh, I remember when we were really stupid? Or will we say, it's always been this way, I just didn't realize it? That's where the Monroe Institute is going.